Hey everybody, I'm Todd and this is Sweet Tea Guitars. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel and welcome to a guitar giveaway. Alright you guys, as you can hear, I'm recovering from the flu. I've been out of commission for about a week. I'm back now, all is well. Here's where we are. I went ahead and put the pearl inside those brass tubes I had for the fret markers. We need to finalize this radius just a little. What I've done is put some 180 grit sandpaper on my radius block over here in my vise. We're going to run this thing across that a couple more times. We'll check the radius on it and we'll continue on this build. Let's keep going on this thing, you guys. I'm excited to get this done. And just put that final radius on this fretboard. Yeah, I think we're good there. We're going to leave it. Let's put a straight edge on it, make sure we hadn't had any movement. No, we're dead flat. I'm really happy with that. That pretty much gets us to the point now to where I need to thickness this headstock. I've already got my spindle sander set up over here. And let's just get after this. That's where we are right now. I want to carry it on up to where I'm getting into the swoop that incorporates the fretboard into it, and then we'll go back with maybe 2 more passes to make sure this is nice and smooth. We're ready to roll on this. I've got the headstock thickness down to about 17 millimeters. The Kyper tuners that I ordered are 23 millimeter shafts, so they're pretty long, and that allows me to leave this headstock just a little thicker than I normally would. Anyway, we got our neck shaped, we're ready to roll. I've drawn out some lines on the front of this body, and I've marked where I want my controls to go. I need to get the rear cavity routed in this guitar. I want to hog out this material for our control cavity first. I've got my depth stop set. On some builds that I've done so far, I've been using this Crimson Universal Control Cavity template set that I got from Ben and the guys at Crimson. It comes like this. It's cut on a laser. It's got the center section, the frame or the shelf right here, and then it's got the outline. I wanted to make myself a copy, so I did just that. Centerpiece, shelf, and outline. I've got some lines made to let me know where this thing needs to sit roughly, and so I keep this line right here parallel to my center line. What we're going to do now, super glue masking tape this template to our body, and then we will we'll get this routing done. What we need to turn our attention to now is marking out the carve on this body. We also need to drill 2 pilot holes for our potentiometers. I only want pilot holes because I want the point of the Forstner bit to be able to ride down in those, and I can cut myself a recess inside the control cavity so my pot can sit down in that. Now we've got pilot holes for that. Another thing we could take care of now is getting our wiring path over to the control cavity, now that we've got it routed in there. There we go. We will have to hold off and drill ourselves a bridge ground in once we get the bridge holes and all that stuff figured out. I'm bearing down hard enough to where it leaves an indentation in my body. There we go. I want to clean this up a little bit so we've got something a little bit more discernible to follow. So that's going to be our bevel. I think that's going to be so cool. I'm really looking forward to it. We want to draw ourselves somewhat of a belly contour back here too. So we'll do like a shallow belly carve right there. I just want just a little relief. And I'll make this a dimensional carve right there so the face of that dives back in a little. We'll bring it a little further over onto that. Kind of like that. Now, all I'm really wanting to do right here is ramp this. I don't want a hard line. If I were going for that, what I would do is take a bowl and tray bit and I would route it. I've done that before. I did that on 7 of 9. And that'll thin this cutaway out right here so it's more comfortable up against the hand. So I'm just going to pan down and we're going to start into this thing. I'm just going to clamp the body down to the table. And I just want to start removing this material. All right, I think it's time we switched over to the Iwasaki now. I've shifted my focus over to the cutaway now. So I want to create something like that, you know, on that cutaway. Smooth. All right, you guys, when we left off last night, I had started getting my bevel carves cut around the front of this body. I am really digging this right here. I think once I get this sanded and we get some color put on this thing, that's going to make a huge difference and absolutely solidify how this guitar is pictured in my mind. I want to get this belly carve right here done, and I also want to ramp this whole area that way just a little. Anyway, let's get this carving done. I'm going to take my medium cut half round Iwasaki and we're just going to start getting rid of some of this material right in here. I may not even follow that line. I could take it on into the body, but I don't think it's necessary. This is a really lightweight guitar. Let's do this. Let's turn this thing around. I'm going to get the Shinto and we're going to start to ramp this whole area down right here. Now I want this really shallow. It is warm in here, you guys. Seriously. But not too warm for coffee. Cheers, my friends. All right, you guys, I'm back. I've been sanding for a while. I didn't figure you guys wanted to watch me do that. I would say on this guitar, I'm probably looking at about 10 hours of sanding work on this guitar. And I don't want to fill the videos up with that, you know. I feel like there's more useful information to share with you guys than sanding. What I want to do right now is lay out my string through holes for my bridge. So before we even get the bridge out, what I want to do is lay this ruler so it's touching the edge of my fretboard. And I want to hold this ruler down while this is still touching all the way down to my nut. I'll let that end fall. And I want to draw a line to the back of my bevel all the way up to where my neck's at. We'll do the same thing on this side. And we'll draw that line in here as well. So while I had my neck inserted down in the neck pocket, I made myself a little tick mark right there. That tick mark is on 648 millimeters, which is our scale length. I measured from the leading edge of my nut line on my fretboard down to this mark right here, 648 millimeters. I made sure my neck was well seated up against the front of the pocket, and I made myself a tick mark right there, roughly in the center. So that is our scale length line right there. Now what we want to do, since we've got a 0 center finding protractor, we want to find how far away from 0 each one of these lines are. We want to make that even on both sides. So in this case, we're sitting just inside of 30 millimeters. I'd call that 29.8 millimeters. We can make ourselves a reference on the 0. We need 2 points of reference to be able to redraw our center line. We want to do the same thing. We want to find the center. There is our master center line. That is the center line that we will use to lay out our bridge. Let's take our 0.7 millimeter pencil and let's mark a line at the front of our bridge. And we're going to tape this protractor down on that center line. I'll take 2 more small pieces, 1 on each side. We can butt our bridge up against the protractor. That's what I'm doing. We can look at these 2 outside saddle adjustment screws and see that we're right inside those 2 lines we made from putting our neck down in the pocket. And you've got a center line reference between saddles 3 and 4. And you can get this perfect. I can tell already that we're dead in the center. Those 2 center holes are right off the center line, equal distances, as you can see right there. And that's where our string throughs go. Bridge front, scale length, string throughs are right there. Everything's marked. So I'll line the protractor up. We'll make a line across here. I'll punch in the strings. We'll drill from both sides and make these holes meet in the middle with a pilot bit first. I've measured these ferrules, and the shaft part of this is 8.09 millimeters. The lip is at 9.5. We're going to jump over to the drill press, and I've got my depth stop set. I've got a piece of tape on the drill bit, and we're going to drill in for our ferrule recess. There we go. Nice and straight in a line. We're good to go. I'm happy about that. Welcome back to the shop. Today is Saturday, April the 22nd. We're working on the giveaway build, which I have decided to name the Kyper. K-Y-P-E-R. And in this case, the Kyper Alpha. I name my guitar spacey names or Star Trek related or something like that all the time anyway. I thought Kyper was a pretty cool name for this guitar. Alpha indicates it's a one pickup guitar. I've been working up in this area on the cutaway bevel. I've got the bevel around the edge cut pretty much like I want it. And I've had an idea that I really want to try on this guitar. What I'm going to do is right here where this line, where the maple meets the alder, I'm going to copper leaf just the alder part of that line. I'll have a two-tone bevel at that point. I'll leave the maple natural. We're going to stain the top. I may be opening a can of worms by trying to do this, but you only live once, you know. I want to try it. So we need to get the holes drilled in to our neck pocket so we've got a way to mount our neck to this guitar. I want to get all that done so I can incorporate that into the final sanding. We need to get our bridge screw mounting holes drilled into here so we can get those sorted. We need to put the final size holes for our potentiometers in the front of this body. I need to get my recesses drilled for my pots to sit a little closer to the surface. And I also need to get my jack drilled in for this. Let's get this bridge laid out and get these holes marked out. The first thing we need to do is pop these saddles off. This base plate is super nice. The coating's nice and even. There are no voids or anything like that on it. Just a really great bridge. What we want to do now is mark out these holes. Okay, that looks perfect. All right, now I've got my 3 holes marked out. Perfect. That's really good. All right. Let's go ahead and measure the shaft on our pots. 7.67 millimeters. So an 8 millimeter drill bit should work. We want to just pop a recess just a couple of millimeters deep to allow these pots to sit a little closer to the surface. Now, we can flip this back over and go with our 8 millimeter drill bit. Okay. What we need to do next is mark out where we want our jack. Our wiring path hole's already in. We'll tackle the neck bolt holes here momentarily. All right, so I've got the guitar in the vise. We need to drill a pilot hole. There we go. That's perfect, you know. And we can now mark out our screw locations. Good to go. All right, so that's done. We need a pilot hole where we want these bolts to go. And I need to drill these in here to find out where they're going to go on the back of our neck heel. Because once I am able to attach this neck, I can make a few drawings. We'll cut off this corner right here like I'm wanting to do, and then we'll sort the final carve on the back of this guitar. I'll get these holes drilled in here. We can carve our neck into the same shape that our guitar body takes on at that point. That's how I like to do it, and that's how we're going to do it on this guitar. So there we go. I'm fine with that. That's well away from where our carve's going to be right there. So I'm cool with those. Do I want these symmetrical or not is the question. I think not. I think I'm going to pop one through exactly where I've got it marked here. which will be well away from our carve on that side. And we've got one here too. All right, so that may look a little funky on the back, but I don't care. It's all about the functionality of it when it comes right down to it. You'll see the ferrules on here, and that'll take on a different look once I cut this corner off right here. So what I've mounted up in the drill press is a 12mm Colt, made in France, 12mm drill bit. Those ferrules measure 11.8 millimeters wide, so that should give me a nice snug fit down into this hole. And since I'm ramping this whole thing down, all I really want to do is get that so my ferrule sits slightly below the surface. That should be good on that one. And I'm just going to let my brad point find the center of the hole. All right, you guys, so we got our ferrule holes drilled into the back of our body. We need to enlarge the holes that we drilled through here for those pilots. So all we've got left that we really need to get done, hole drilling wise, is we need a bridge ground. We'll deal with that in just a minute. First of all, let's finish up drilling these holes for our neck pocket mounting bolts, or for our neck mounting bolts. There we go, and we kept that nice and tight up against the top. I've got some 180 grit sandpaper on my round little DuraBlock sanding block here, and I just want to start smoothing all this out, especially on these bevels. I can use the random orbit for the top and the back. These have to be done by hand. First of all, one thing I've discovered, every time I've done a guitar that I do this reveal from one wood to another, like that, I always end up with glue line issues. Well, I've noticed that if you try to use a random orbit sander on these, that is part of the issue. You have to do this by hand, I think. I started thinking about that faux binding look, which is what led me to want to try this the first time. And I really love how that looks from that transition. When you guys see the color that I'm going to use on here, I really think the color to natural to copper leaf is going to create a really interesting look on this thing. So I really want to try it. And I think it's going to be really cool. If it's not, I'll sand it all off and do it again. We'll leave the whole bevel natural and go with it that way. We're going to shift over to this hard sanding block. I've got 240 grit super Aslix paper on it. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Our book match is good. And I just love the look of this quarter sawn curly maple, the fleck in it, and the way the grain's waving all vertically up through there. I really love that. I guess before we go any further, what I really should do right now is cut that tip off of that neck pocket corner. All right, so that's what I meant. We'll clean this up with the fine cut Iwasaki to start with. So that's pretty much the shape I was after. You know, so it flows nicely down into here. Our neck heel is going to be the key to this. This is what I'm going to use for covers. I've got the other part of this too, and as you can see, it's got some bark inclusions and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's a really nice piece of bicolored quilted maple. It's a little over 6 millimeters thick. We're perfect. We're at about 5.5 millimeters deep. That will allow me to sand that cover without having to remove too much material off of it, so it's flat with the back of this body. So let's take this off. And there we go. So now we got a shelf we can live with. Looks a little odd right now, but when we get the cover plate put on there, everything will be sorted. We're going to take some shellac. I've been sanding on this body for the past couple of hours, and I've pretty much got it where I want it. But now, before we start doing any color or any of this copper leaf that I want to do on here, I want to use some shellac around this bevel right here to seal this. That's going to keep the stain from bleeding over onto the bevel. It's also going to provide a good base for this adhesive for the copper leaf. I just want a nice thin film of this all the way around this bevel, and then we can sand whatever we don't need. We can sand that off. Gio recommended that I do this for the stain reason, but I think it's also going to help with the copper leaf. Shellac dries pretty quick. Let's get this up near this cutaway here, because I'm going to leaf this too. All right, I think that's going to protect us. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up, you guys. I know I did not get as far as I wanted and as far as I've been saying I would get in this video, but we had so much sanding to do. I lost 9 days because of the flu. I mean, I literally did not even come down to the shop for 9 days. And I really want to get a video released and show you guys what I've been up to. We are completely sanded on this body. We're up to 320, and front and back, all my sides are sanded. Everything's ready to roll. The next video is going to be all about the finish. And I know you guys, I know you've been waiting on it forever. I have too. It's going to happen in the next video, and I'm actually going to start that tomorrow. But I want to end the video here so I can get a video posted tomorrow and let you guys know that I have been working. And hopefully by next weekend, I'll be able to release a video showing all you guys the finish on this guitar, what color I've chosen to go with. You'll be able to see that copper leaf and what that looks like. We'll finish up that neck heel carve. We'll get the neck rubbed down with some oil. I did get the rear cavity cover made, and as you can see, I used a pretty nice piece of quilted maple for that. So that's going to be our rear cavity. We're going to attach this with magnets so there's nothing breaking up the look we've got going on with this grain. I think it looks really cool. So I hope you've enjoyed this series so far. Stick around. Next weekend, I promise you guys, we're going to release a video showing the stain going on this guitar. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can stay up to date as I release these videos and all the other content that I've got coming on the channel here. The Great Guitar Build-Off 2023 should be starting any day now. I am so excited about that, you guys. I hope you are too. I'll see you guys in the funny papers, and until the next video, as always, peace and love.